Welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Poots, and we have yet again another music reaction. So last week we listened to Falling in Reverse, Ronnie Radke, and Hardy. And basically, once again, I was talking about musical stuff in one of my sessions with my client, James, who was putting me on to some of those Tom MacDonald songs that we listened to in previous weeks before Falling in Reverse. I listened to Tom like 3 weeks in a row, chose one of his songs. And I was telling James I was like, hey, do you like Falling in Reverse? He's like, yes. And I'm like, well, hey, they just came out with a new song and they got Hardy in there. And then he was like, hey, have you listened to the song called Jack by Hardy? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't recall. You know, my exposure to Hardy is still pretty minimal, but I really like Hardy. You know, I'm not really or typically have been a big country fan, but he is somebody that has helped me kind of ease my way into the genre. Because I feel like, of course, he is country at his core. Like, if you strip away everything and you just go down to the bare bones, the bare necessities, I would say Hardy, for the most part, is a country artist. But he likes rock and roll, too. And he incorporates that into his music. And he does, hard-hitting sounds in his music. I think I said last week the way that I was exposed to him is I was listening to that song that he made with Jeremy McKinnon, and it's called Radio Song. And Jeremy, lead singer of A Day to Remember, which is one of my favorite bands of all time, I remember seeing that on iTunes, and I'm like, Jeremy McKinnon is featured with this guy Hardy, and it says Hardy is country. I'm like, how is Jeremy going to fit into that? Like, is he going country? And you listen to that song, and it's like a country hook, a country bridge, would you say? But then or chorus, but then it goes to Jeremy McKinnon, and it's like heavy, and it's just heavy hitting. It just hits you in the face. It's just like audio assault to your fucking eardrums. And so ever since that moment, I was like, okay, I really have to give Hardy a fair chance. I like his country stuff. I like his heavier stuff. I like his rock stuff. I like it all. I think he is another very versatile type of artist. And so James gave me a little bit of background on this song. The fact that it's called Jack is he's talking about Jack Daniels, the liquor, and I'm assuming is there some type of codependency on the alcohol, and is that what Hardy is talking about? James basically said, listening to this song, it was very much a resonating experience for him just because of the previous life that he lived. My client James, used to be an alcoholic, used to drink a lot, used to go out and party. And so he's like, yeah, that was the ties that he had to this song. That's where he really felt like the content in here, the subject matter, really resonated with him in his previous life. So very curious, very intrigued to check out this song. From what I've listened to of Hardy, I don't think he's really ever missed. I don't think he really puts out bad songs. I think for the most part, they're all very well crafted. I've heard from, my mom, because she listens a little bit to Hardy, just his ability to write, like his lyrics, like he's a very good lyricist, and there's other people in country, like prominent artists, that have given him flowers and have said, this man is really good. He's a really good musician, not only his music, but his writing ability, other things like that. So without further ado, we're going to get into the song, and we're going to watch the official music video. Once again, it's Hardy. The song is Jack. This came out, it says 2 years ago on YouTube. It's got 16 million views. September 29th of 2022. So actually it's almost been 3 years since this song came out. I wonder then, this song might be on his album The Mockingbird and the Crow, which I think I went through that song, but I don't remember all of the songs. There were a few that I really gravitated towards, so maybe I've heard this, maybe it'll be a refresher, but just based off of the title, I don't think I've ever listened to this song. Start out with a guitar.
Hey kid, let me introduce myself. I was a friend of your dad's when he had no one else. I put the party in your life, boy, you know I can. Have you ever wanted to feel like Superman? I see that blonde hair over there looking at you. You wanna say what's up, I can't work up the courage to. But if you stick with me, buddy, you can bet your life she'll be walking out with you by the end of the night. So don't listen to mama, hell, I ain't the devil. Ditch me when you wanna, but if you need a little, I can fix your problems. I always got your back. I can make you famous. By the way, my name is.
Is he gonna go heavy?
Ow, fuck.
People in your circle, man, are pissing me off. Say you're broken and your soul is saying it's all my fault. So tell me, old friend, is it such a sin? All I did was make you happy, so to hell with them. And don't listen to mama, hell, I ain't the devil.
Okay.
Ditch me when you wanna, but if you need a little, I can fix your problems. I always got your back. I can make you famous. By the way, my name is.
Good guitar, man. Good drums. See, this doesn't feel like country. Country rock?
Jack.
All right. Very short at 3 minutes. That went by super fast. As always, I think I'll probably listen to it one more time without the music video just to see if I can get anything else in the lyrics that maybe I missed the first time through. But off of my initial thoughts, you know what's interesting is he names the title of the track Jack, but he does not mention that word but once, which is at the end of the song, which is impressive. Because I feel like some artists, they have a name for a song and they repeat that title all throughout the song. Like they rely so heavily on it. What I have really grown to appreciate about Hardy, and this goes in line with what I'm talking about right now, is he picks a name for a track, but he has a whole concept around it. So he doesn't have to use that word all throughout the song. He builds the concept, and then at the end, he finally states that. Really impressive. Yeah, but he's talking about Jack. He's talking about Jack Daniels. He's talking about alcohol. He's talking about how I can be your only friend. You know, when you're at the bottom, at least you're going to be accompanied by me. Don't listen to your mama. Something about there's a blonde over there. She looks really attractive, but you can't build up the courage to go talk to her. So why don't you drink me? Because then you get that liquid confidence. Everybody knows with alcohol that it's a social lubricant, right? Like if you're a little bit anxious, if you're a little bit awkward, if you're a little bit shy, if you're a little bit in your head, it can get rid of some of your inhibitions and make you a little bit more loose and relaxed to go and talk to people. There were lyrics later on saying something that was revolving around dad, like dad had the same codependency issues with alcohol. So maybe this person went out on their own, but they also maybe developed this really bad habit, this sin from, what they saw in their childhood. I don't know if that's exactly what he said. That's why you always give these songs a second listen where you're not watching the music video, so you can pick up on more of the lyrics, you can pick up on more of the audio. Yeah, the biggest thing I noticed was how he says Jack at the end. He didn't have to repeat it, say Jack, 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 Jack. Because, dude, that would get annoying. That would get repetitive. That would get redundant. Another thing that I noticed about the music video, and I feel like this was done on purpose, is when the instrumentation later on in the song, when it starts to pick up, on the set of the music video with all of their instruments, that's where they start to destroy their instruments. So the guitars, the drums, they're smashing it, they're breaking it, and I feel like that was done on purpose because it's symbolic with drinking an excess amount of alcohol or drinking an excess amount of Jack. Is like you do stupid things when you get that fucked up on alcohol. There's a lot of regrets that are laced with drinking too much, partying too much. I really didn't do that stuff only when I was in high school, only when I was in college. I mean, I haven't drank not even half of a beer since January 1st of 2022. And I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying that as just like I lost desire at some point. I really had no desire to go drink. And it's never like I was an alcoholic or I was hooked or I was obsessed with it. Like, I partied in high school. I drank. I did not even touch marijuana until I was 19 years old. So I was out of high school by that point. But I really feel like in my younger years, partying a little bit, I wouldn't say excessively, partying a little bit, getting a taste of it, getting super fucked up, probably blacked out maybe only 2 times in my entire life. I just got to 2022 and I would have been 24, I think, at that point. I just had no desire, man. And the really interesting thing to tie in with this whole concept, Jack Daniels, alcohol, I've been having some of these conversations here recently, actually with another client yesterday. Why is it that in America, it is pushed into our culture so heavily to drink? Drinking has become synonymous with American culture. That now, if you are the person that chooses not to drink, other people look at you like something is wrong with you. I'm not gonna name names, I'm not gonna call anybody out, but it was like 3 weekends ago. I went to my class reunion. Or maybe it was 2 weekends ago. 2 or 3 weekends ago. I went to my 10-year high school class reunion. And I was talking to this girl in my class, and she had like a seltzer or something, some type of like fruity drink. And she like offered it to me. She was like, do you want to try this? Like, do you want to have a sip of it? And I was like, no, thank you. I was like, I don't drink. I haven't drank in, like 3.5 years or whatever. And it was almost like the face that she made was that she was taken back by that comment. And she's like, oh, or like, oh, like jolted. And hopefully I'm not exaggerating, but at least like in that moment, it's like that's what it felt like. And I didn't know how to take that response. I don't know why she was so shocked that I don't drink. And it was just weird, man. It just left a weird taste in my mouth. I think alcohol is pushed into our culture for degeneration, destabilization. I'm not saying like, I'm not going to hate on people for going out and drinking if you're doing it every once in a while. If you're not obsessed with it, if you're not dependent on it, if you're not addicted to it, go out and have a good time, on the weekends. Or, maybe you do it like once a month or something with your friends. I don't have a problem with that. Anything in moderation, I think, is totally fine, is totally okay. But I'm talking about how it gets pushed into our culture, because I truly believe if you're doing it too much, it fucks with you mentally, fucks with you physically. It's basically like poison to your body. Going back to the 10-year high school class reunion, I don't know if it was just because of consumption of alcohol, but there was a good handful of people at that reunion. Now, granted, only 25 of 262 out of our class showed up, but of those 25 people, I would say at least half of them have gotten bigger, like physically, and have gotten, some were, fat and overweight and obese. And again, I don't know if that just comes from alcohol consumption. It could be bad diet, not enough water, not enough of the right supplements, not enough like physical activity. It's probably a combination of all those things, but I would have to imagine that alcohol is part of that equation as well. And that was another shocking thing. Like, holy shit, dude, it's only been 10 years, and yet a lot of you have already let yourself go and fall off. When you're in high school, when you're younger, your metabolism is great. Like, you don't have to try as hard to keep weight off of your body. But as you get older and approaching your 30s, that now becomes a real struggle to maintain and still get better. And so those two things alone were very interesting to see. And I just think that alcohol and alcoholism and alcohol culture is pushed into our society for a reason. I really think, and I don't even smoke pot anymore. It's actually been longer since I smoked pot. It's been over 5 years since I smoked pot. And yet, even though I don't do it anymore, I would say pot, I think, is less harmful than drinking is. And yet, in so many states and at the federal level, pot is still outlawed in our country, but yet alcohol is so readily available after you turn 21. But yet there's still a bunch of kids getting out of high school, just starting to go to college, and they have fake IDs, and for however long they're doing that. So they're starting before they're even 21, and we know that our brains don't fully develop until we're like 25 or 26. So to wrap this all up into one fantastic idea, Hardy is talking about this dependency on Jack, which, again, I don't know if he's talking about the societal stuff and the societal implications that I'm talking about. Maybe he had it in his family growing up, and that's what led him down that path. I don't know. As a country boy, you probably lean into that stuff a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, that's very thorough subject matter and deep lyrics. And again, kind of like last week with Falling in Reverse, Ronnie Radke and Hardy, that one was like a lighthearted spin on a serious subject. This one doesn't seem as lighthearted, but it's not going very deep, but I still think it's an important, like, deep subject that we can talk about. So those are my initial thoughts. That's my initial sort of reaction. I'm going to play it one more time. I'm not going to watch the music video. I'm going to keep my head down, looking this way, and I'm just going to listen to it and see what the lyrics and the sound and the instrumentation, whatever it provokes out of me with this second listen through. Friend of the Dads.
I'll put the party in your life, boy, you know I can. Have you ever wanted to
Party in your
feel
life.
like Superman?
Yep.
I see that blonde hair over there looking at you. You wanna say what's up, I can't work up the courage to. But if you stick with me, buddy, you can bet your life she'll be walking out with you by the end of the night. So don't listen to mama, hell, I ain't the devil. Ditch me when you wanna, but if you need a little, I can fix your problems. I always got your back. I can make you famous. By the way, my name is.
he said something else. I didn't catch him the first time, but like, I can fix your problems, da 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 da, make you famous just by my name. That's the elusive nature of these things, right? These drugs, these substances, these things that we depend on, these vices that we ultimately obtain, is they have this elusive nature of like, you think it's helping you, like alcohol. Oh, I'm so stressed. Let me turn to booze to kind of like tune down the noise. And again, if it's in moderation, maybe it's not bad. I'm saying when it goes to the excessive route, you know, where it's becoming unhealthy, it's like you think that this thing, the substance, can help you fix your problems, but in reality, all you're trying to do is escape your problems and escape reality. And that's not healthy for anybody, right? Like, to actually get better in life and actually deal with your problems and overcome and, you know, work through the adversity, is to actually come up with solutions and actually tackle those problems head on, not turn to some type of substance to numb things, to numb the pain, and to basically just disassociate from real life and reality. So another great line by Hardy. Crazy. There's like double entendres in there with the lyrics. By the way, my name is Jack. I can make you famous by the way my name is Jack, but it's also like introducing yourself from the perspective of the alcohol. Hey, by the way, my name is Jack. I didn't catch that the first time through. It's those subtle little differences, the more nuanced, the more details you pay attention to as you listen to songs a second, third, fourth, fifth time. I don't know if there's really anything else to say. I think I covered a lot of it in the initial thoughts and the initial reaction. Yeah, quite a perspective from the alcohol, its lens, the way it views the situation. Hey, come over here. Isn't that the nature and the root of sin, right? And the devil, and how it tries to present itself in your life, is it gives you something that's very comforting. It says, hey, come here. It's going to be all right. Like, I'm going to take care of you. And it's like, when those voices start to creep in, you really have to question that source and where it's coming from. Not to preach or anything like that on here, whether you guys are religious or not. You know, I'm a Christian, have been more so heavier Christian since 2021 is when I kind of came back to religion. And even here recently, like learning different techniques, different ways to pray. I was watching this podcast with Joe Rogan and Chad Wright. If you guys don't know Chad Wright, you should really go check out his content on social media. It's really good. But, you know, he's a firm believer in Christ and the Holy Spirit. Not necessarily was he talking about alcohol or alcoholism on the podcast, a little bit more of a different spin, but talking about religion, talking about spirituality, being connected to those things. And the way that he described, you know, sin and bad behavior and bad habits really gave me a different perspective. he was talking about when he was basically saved, this experience that happened to him in a different country. He was a Navy SEAL. He was in these barracks with these other gentlemen, and there was an evil presence in the barracks, and they could all feel it. Didn't really know how to describe it. There would be these crazy sounds, these crazy slams, these screams, like at nighttime when they were trying to go to bed. And it was just some type of evil presence and energy that they could feel in the air. Like all of the guys like openly admitted to this. But Chad Wright, he was saying like at the time, he wasn't religious at all, but he had a buddy that was. And so he called up his buddy and he was like, dude, like, I need you to help me out. Like, he explained the situation to him over the phone. He's like, this is what's going on. Can you help me? And his buddy was like, yeah. Do you have olive oil that's present? And Chad was like, yeah, I have some. And he's like, great. So put it on the top of the door, the door that you open to like come into the room, and just put like a few dabs of it on there. And so Chad did that and then stayed on the phone with this guy, was walking around the place, and this guy was basically just uttering out prayers and basically telling this demonic presence to leave them alone and get out of there because those grounds are blessed by the Holy Spirit. And he goes to bed that night. They all go to bed that night. And something remarkable happens in the morning. Not only has the feeling, the fear, the paranoia, whatever that feeling was, it has completely eroded and dissipated and gone away. Not only that, but the few dabs of olive oil that he put on the top of the door had dripped down the door and covered the entirety of the door, which is actually impossible if you think about it. And so Chad talked about that moment in time and how that completely changed his life. It completely changed his perspective on God, on organized religion. Obviously, organized religion can veer off into the negative realm, but I really think it's not because of God and his sake and his doing. It's more so because the hand of man, the hand of humans. And I understand the Bible to some extent was written by the hand of man, but I think back then they were really channeling this source and interacting with this energy field known as God, known as religion, Christianity, Western Christianity, and spirituality, however you choose to categorize it. So that shifted his perspective, and he started giving his life over to the Lord. And he said, when that moment happened, shortly thereafter, for Chad, basically his appetite for sin, bad behavior, bad habits, all of those things that was making his life way less were completely stripped away from him. Now, he's human, right? We're born of this flesh. We're born as a lower standard than God is, just by the nature of our DNA and how we are. But so he would still make mistakes. He would still sin. I don't think that ever goes away from a man. But he said that he no longer has the appetite for it. Like he's not going to do it in an unconscious manner. If he does make those mistakes, if he does sin, if he falls short of his standards, his expectations, like now he's conscious of it. He's way, way, way harder on himself. And whatever you want to say, if you want to debunk it, if you're agnostic, if you're an atheist, again, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to convince anybody. I know what I've gone through in my life and what that's led to, the conclusion that I've come to. It just shows you, like with stories like this, like people's firsthand accounts, their testimonies, there's something I truly believe that is super powerful about prayer, about reading scripture, about going to church, being in a like-minded community, listening to the gospel. I mean, I really think that prayer in a lot of ways and just building your own relationship with God can develop and can move literally mountains. And so I don't know why I brought that up in relationship to this song, but something to do with sin, vices, and just relying on these substances, alcohol, pot, drugs, porn, whatever it could be. There's so many things that we can abuse and get addicted to. There is something about human nature that it's like we have this structure inside of us that yearns for some type of higher power. Again, that could be your own specific religion if you want to go off and be a Buddhist or any of the other religions, although a lot of the religions kind of have the same religious substructure. It's like they all worship, idolize some type of deity, some type of higher power. So why is there all of these commonalities all across the board with all of these different religions? I think there's something inside of us that calls for that. And that's another reason that it makes me believe that there is something out there. How could all of this just magically appear without some type of magical force? And that's not to discredit science, because I think there's a time and a place for science too. I think there's a part of us that could have evolved as well. But I'm saying, like, let's take everything into account, and whatever you need to do for the individual out there to get your life in order, to not rely on jack, substances, alcohol, pot, porn, overeating, bad eating. Obviously, you got to replace that with something that's more positive. But I think for a lot of people, it's like there's something inside of them that is not full. And maybe it could be the Lord. Maybe it could be religion. Maybe it could be somebody ends up having kids, or they finally find a really good job, a really good career that fulfills them, and they leave their past life behind. I don't know if Hardy, the reason that he wrote the song is because he actually struggled. He was that person that relied so heavily on Jack. He gave it a great perspective, which makes me think like he's battled with this before in the past. And it is something that we should talk about more in our society. Why is it that it's pushed into our culture so heavily? Why is it that when I was at my 10-year class reunion, there was one of my old classmates that gave me a weird look because I didn't want a sip of her drink? Like celebrate it, dude. Like, again, and I'm not here to judge. I wasn't judging her just because, or anybody that was at the class reunion that had alcohol in their hand, a beer in their hand. No judgment. Have fun, man. Like, let loose. It's just not my thing. Like, I can still have fun without it. And I think there are a handful of people that they've never been able to, or at least for a long time, they've never been able to have fun without the use of it, without the dependency of relying on it so much. So anyways, guys, enough of my rant. Those are my thoughts. That's a great song. Thank you, James, once again. Nothing but good recommendations from you so far with Tom McDonald and now Hardy. I don't know what it'll be next week. You know, it always changes. It's always evolving. A lot of different artists that come on this channel. Sometimes we overlap. Sometimes we get 3 weeks in a row where I'm listening to the same artist like Tom McDonald. I really don't know. I really can't plan for it. All I know is I really love doing this. I really enjoy doing this. It's a hobby. It's a good pastime. It's something that I would like to have pop off at some point. We continue to get subscribers. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's stagnant. Sometimes we like plateau. We hit a rut. I appreciate all the people that like stay and listen. I know I don't have the best equipment. I know the audio is not the greatest. I mean, it's just, that's not my expertise. And with me having an actual full-time job of like personal training and then like moving back to my parents' house and paying off my student loans and trying to save up money, I can't upgrade in these things. It'll probably come at some point, right? And I get myself out of this hole. It's not necessarily that I'm in a hole, but I made this decision. I made this sacrifice so there could be a payoff later, that hopefully in a year and a half, 2 years, pay off student loans entirely. And then as life continues to get traction and get better and get away from this previous place, start investing in better equipment, and hopefully I can do this full time one day. I mean, I think I talked about this years ago on the channel when I was doing like a Q&A, and this was like in the midst of the pandemic, because I started this whole thing where I was just doing podcasts with other people before I started doing music reactions. And then in the pandemic, it was like, oh man, like can't really do as many podcasts because people were so paranoid about the whole thing. And so I did this Q&A, and I had people like on social media or like text me, ask me questions, and then I'll do a Q&A and I'll make like an episode out of it. It turned out to be really good. And I remember one of the things that I said in that video was, I think I was talking about Zane Lowe, who works for Apple Music. I don't know if you guys watch him or not, but he gets to talk to all of the artists, all of the bands, the musicians as they're coming out with new projects. And so they'll do like special interviews sometimes where it's at a specific location, maybe their studio, maybe where they live. Sometimes it's in the Apple Music studio. And I'm just so like jealous in a good way and envious in a good way of Zane Lowe, because like to me that would be my ultimate dream job. But it's like, how do you get there? I think the closest thing that I have is doing this shit on my YouTube channel on the internet where I listen to music, I react to it, I talk about it, and I appreciate the people that come along and like it. Like, you don't have to have the best quality per se in terms of audio, although I know that would help, that would bring more people here. I wish I could hire somebody, even though I don't have like a ton of money. I wish somebody could just come over here and like help me fix that real quick, because it's not, I'm probably making it more difficult and complicated than it needs to be. I just think over time, one day, that will get fixed. And I just appreciate the people that are rocking with me. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers. We're pretty close to that. And I know that's not a lot compared to other channels, but anytime, I remember when I first started and you're like, man, you're just like waiting to hit 100, and that took a long time. And then there was a video last year that pretty much got me to 1,000. And so it's been a long journey, and that's not necessarily what it's all about. It's cool when you hit those milestones though. So as we depart, 4 things that I ask that you guys do. As always, you don't have to do all of the 4 things, but do one of the 4. Number 1, subscribe to the channel. Number 2, like the video. Number 3, comment in the comment section below. Number 4, share the message, whether it's via social media or if you tell somebody in person, word of mouth. Either way, any way that you can spread it, man, any way that you can help me grow this channel, get more eyeballs and views, clicks, all that stuff over here. It's the value exchange that I talk about at the end of each and every video podcast reaction. I put this out there, I give it my all, I give my most authentic reactions, whatever comes to my mind, like in the moment. Like, I'm not sugarcoating anything, I'm being authentic, I'm being genuine, and in exchange for that, you guys just help me grow. That's like, if you liked it, if you had fun, if you thought it was entertaining, if you learned something, if you gathered a perspective, whatever, dude, if it was valuable, if it was not a waste of your time, do one of those 4 things and help me out. But that's it, guys. I gotta go hit my lift here soon. It's the weekend, it's Saturday. Gotta get in the gym, gotta get that fucking pump and those gains. I'm already kind of sore from yesterday. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Take care.